All right, hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Otis Landerholm, and I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Today our topic is I'll do a deportation update and talk about how do we defend our rights. Okay? And so thanks for tuning in. Welcome. I appreciate each of you being here, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. All right? Remember, the Empowered Immigrant Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. Okay? And so today our theme is a deportation update, defend your rights. And my question for you and for everyone watching is, hey, do you want to get a green card? Do you want to figure out what the best strategy is, what the best option is, how to defend yourself, how to navigate the murky waters of U.S. immigration law to maximize your chances of success so that you can get documentation, you can come out of the shadows, you can up-level the amount of freedom that you have in your life, so that you can get all this issue about immigration law behind you. If that's you, if that's your situation, hey, I'd love to help you. My firm is on a mission to win 10,000 immigration cases in the next 10 years. We would love for your case to be one of them. Okay? And thanks for everybody for being here. As I'm talking, if you have questions, feel free to submit your questions. I'll do my best to answer them. All right? And we'll get started. Okay, so the news, we're recording this, it's February of 2025. Trump is back in power. He's got 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. He's been back as president again of the United States, and a lot has changed in the last 2 weeks, right? So the Lake and Riley Act is now signed into law. It makes many immigrants with even small arrests, and arrests only, right? Not convictions. Arrests only, accusations only. It makes people subject to mandatory detention, which is ugly. All right, it's really ugly. And ICE is getting started with its mass deportation efforts. So far, approximately 5,500 people have been arrested by ICE in the last 2 weeks. All right. They're working to arrest 1,200 to 1,500 per day. That's their current goal. And they've set the goal of eventually getting up to 1,800 people detained every day. Okay, which is awful. And that's going to include reinstituting ICE raids, including raids at work, etc. And so you got to be mindful of that. Okay? Got to be mindful of that. In the meantime, yesterday, there was a day for immigrants in many places. All right? Immigrants closed down and protested, and there was, if you see in the news, there were a lot of protests around, which is a good thing. It's important that the government see, right? It's important that the government see, hey, what would it be like to really not have immigrants? Because it would really affect the economy, and they've got to start to feel that. Okay? And so, yeah, I was of two minds, right? I didn't close my firm. I thought about it. I should have closed my firm down, right? But I didn't close my firm down because we've got a lot of work to do for immigrants, right? And we had a full day of consults and meetings, etc. But I wholeheartedly support anyone who did, right? I wholeheartedly support anyone who took that day off, went into the streets, started protesting. I want to do more of that. That's exciting to me because people got to know what's going on. Okay? So anyway, thank you for being here, and thank you for engaging, right, in this conversation about immigration law, immigrants' rights. I really appreciate that. Before I get into it more, we are right now fighting an E-42B case in court, all right? Right now, we've got a client whose future is on the line in immigration court in San Francisco, and my attorney is there, all right? and we're fighting what's called E42B. It's a cancellation of removal case in immigration court right now. And get this, it's the fourth individual hearing. It's like the fourth trial date that this particular client has had. And so, like, take a moment, right, and send good vibes to my client, to my attorney, to the judge, to everybody involved. I really hope that we win this one. We've been fighting it for years, and now's the date, right? Now's the date. We're going to get a decision in immigration court. It might come even while we're talking. And it also might come while we're talking to, like, hey, I got to go do something. So if I need to end our conversation abruptly and then resume it, that's the situation. Sometimes these things happen, okay? So that's where we're at. What I'd like to do, this is just an update of kind of what's going on. And if you're tuning in right now, thank you for being here and welcome. My name's Otis Landerholm, and I'm an immigration attorney, certified specialist in immigration law. Thank you for being here. I'm the host of the Empowered Immigrant Live, which is where we're tuning in right now. And so as I'm going through this, if you have questions, submit your questions. What I want to do is just update, hey, what changes have we actually seen in the first 2 weeks of the Trump presidency? Okay? And so let's go through that. The first happened on the first day, and that was 46 executive orders were signed. All right? 7 of them had to do with immigration law, the crackdown at the border. Trump declared a national emergency at the border, clarified the military's role. They're sending the National Guard and other military assets to the border. All right? They have ended the CBP One app, which, remember, was the application that people could use in Mexico to schedule an appointment to present themselves at the border to request asylum. And so that happened, right? They're not taking asylum cases at the border at all. They have ended the Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela parole program. They've ended catch and release, so anybody that they catch crossing the border, they are detaining. They've ended the refugee admissions program. They've increased to the full extent possible expedited removal, which expedited removal is very, very ugly. That particular executive order, though, the order was signed, but it's being challenged, right? I'll talk about some of the challenges that are happening because a lot's going to happen in court. They've said that the COVID-19 vaccines are no longer required on adjustment of status cases in the medical exam, all right? The Lake and Riley Act passed, which is a big deal, like huge deal. Venezuelan TPS will likely end. The Biden extension of TPS for Venezuela was rescinded. And as I mentioned already, there's 5,500 people that have been arrested already by ICE. ICE's bed space is starting to fill up. All right. Trump has said that they're going to open Guantanamo in Cuba for some immigrant detainees. All right. And there's going to be a push to open additional facilities throughout the country, which we were already seeing. Okay. So that's what's going on there. In the meantime, right, advocates are fighting back. Part of that is the Day for Immigrants that we saw yesterday. All right. Trump's citizenship executive order, right? Getting rid of birthright citizenship. That order has been shot down, right? Not permanently, but initially. There's an initial injunction on that. And the federal judge, in that case, called that executive order blatantly unconstitutional, which is a good thing, right? It's like in the United States, there's 3 branches of government, right? There's the presidency, which is the executive branch. There's Congress, which writes laws. But then there's this other branch over there that's called the judiciary, which has the courts and the Supreme Court at the head of it. And it's like, if the executive branch and if Congress are against us, hey, maybe we can lean a little bit into the power of the courts, because the courts actually can say that some of this stuff is unconstitutional, unlawful, and nope, it ain't going to happen, right? They actually do have the final say, folks. All right, so we're going to see what happens as various things are challenged by the courts. Trump's executive order expanding expedited removal is being challenged right now. All right, it's very likely that the Lake and Riley Act is going to face various legal challenges in the courts. And so, you know, that's part of it, right? We've got to stick together. We got to fight back. We got to fight for our rights. And some of that is, hey, where there are laws that are being passed that is like, hey, that shouldn't be the law. That is like bad law that goes in violation of our international treaties, of our Constitution. Where it does that, hey, we can push back, we can fight back, and we can challenge those decisions in court. Okay? So that's kind of the basics, right? That's the basics. That's basically what I wanted to share today. Thank you all so much for tuning in right now, right? There's a lot of people that are joining me, so thank you everybody that's joining me, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm a certified specialist in immigration law, and I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C. We're a law firm. We fight for your American dream, based out of our office in Oakland, California, but we fight for immigrants throughout the United States. So thank you for being here. Let's see, SoCal, thank you for your support. I'm going to share this video. Hey, thank you. Yeah, share this video. Give us a heart, give us a like, give us a wave. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Really, really appreciate that love online. It helps everything that we're doing. All right, so user 911, you say, do I have to file taxes as married to apply for citizenship, even if I've been a resident for 10 years? You know, that's a good question. There is no requirement. There is no requirement that you file your taxes one way or another way. But the good moral character requirement, which that is the requirement, it does require that you're complying with tax law, that you're paying your taxes. And so the best advice for everybody listening is talk to your tax advisor, talk to your tax professional, just so that as you're filing your tax returns, you're complying with tax law. Okay? And so, you know, that's it. That's it. So if your tax professional says, no, you don't have to file married, filing jointly, or whatever, for citizenship, you do not have to file one way or another. Now, if you're getting your green card through marriage, sometimes it's a good piece of evidence, right? That's a different situation. You're filing for citizenship, all right? But for some people, if you're just married and if you're filing your taxes and you want to show, you want some additional evidence that you're living together as husband and wife, okay, well then filing taxes as married, filing jointly is one additional piece of evidence that you can show, right? You can be like, hey, look, we are married and we're filing our taxes as we're married, right? But that's separate from, are you required to do that to win citizenship? And the answer there is no. You're not technically required to file any certain way for citizenship. You just have to comply with tax laws, right, to be deemed a person of quote-unquote good moral character when you're applying for citizenship. Hopefully that's clear. Hopefully that's helpful. If you have additional questions about that, talk to your attorney as you're building your citizenship case. And if you don't have one, you know, our office is here to help. We'd love to help you. Okay? All right, Zaza Wrench, I see you. Good morning. Thank you for the updates. Hey, you're so welcome. Good morning to you as well. Maria Lacerda, good morning. Is the U visa suspended? All right, the U visa is suspended, question mark. No, no, people can still apply for U visas. All right, people can still apply for U visas. It's not quote unquote suspended. U visas are by operation of law. So for them to change that, for them to suspend that or whatever, they would need to pass some kind of law within Congress to rescind that or to say no more, right? But U visas are delayed. They take forever, all right? So sometimes they might feel suspended. So that's what's going on there. Unknown Boy. Cool name. Unknown Boy. All right, 125. I see you here. Thank you for your question. You say, as a green card holder, can a misdemeanor that happened over 5 years ago be a problem with citizenship? The answer is yes, it can. All right. When someone applies for citizenship, they've got to show they're a person of good moral character for the last 5 years. So it shouldn't be a problem for the good moral character analysis, per se, technically. All right. But you still can't be deportable, or you don't want to be deportable. And certain misdemeanors can make a person, quote unquote, deportable, which means that you would put yourself at risk to being put into immigration court. Okay? Basically, it's like, what misdemeanors cause that? Any misdemeanor related to drugs, any misdemeanor that was a crime involving moral turpitude committed within a certain amount of time after winning your green card. Okay? And so you want to do the analysis, right? You want to do the analysis, and I would recommend having an immigration lawyer help you to really determine what risks might you face if you apply for citizenship. Okay? So I wanted to share that. Lamara K, hey, good vibes to your client on cancellation of removal. Today's the day. That's right. Lamara, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. Mike Johnson, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you as well. Good to see you. All right. Domiluv S. Mango. All right. Can you seek refuge in Canada if you are ordered to deport the United States without a passport? You know, I'm not a Canadian immigration lawyer, so I actually cannot answer that question. I'm not like licensed to give advice about immigration laws of Canada or any other country. But if you really are in that situation and you're really considering it, I would recommend talking to a Canadian immigration lawyer. It might be tricky if you have already sought asylum in the United States and were denied. So it's like, are you seeking refuge, like refugee status in Canada? Yeah, the best advice would be to talk to a Canadian immigration lawyer, you know? And before doing that, man, talk with a U.S.-based immigration lawyer. Like, you know, if you're ordered to deport the United States, could we fix that? Could we reopen that case? Is there something else that could be done to maximize your chances of staying here? I would recommend doing that first, and then if that doesn't work, then talk to an immigration lawyer in Canada or in any other country and see what your options might be. All right? Let's see. Silent, I see your question here. If I came across the border, can I marry to get legal status? So yes, it's just not easy. All right? If you came across the border one time and only one time, you have and are accruing unlawful presence, which means that if you have more than 1 year of unlawful presence, if you marry and get legal status through a spouse, you would have to file a waiver of that unlawful presence, and you would have to leave the U.S. and re-enter lawfully through a U.S. consulate overseas, but you would want to get a waiver first, okay? And so, so there's that, all right? I got a question here on Instagram. Janette, I see you here. You say, it seems there are claims of ICE sitting in Sacramento. Is this something you can confirm? Good question. I can't confirm that right here, right now, but I could, well, let me see what I can do on the news here. Nope, I'm not seeing anything specific. Nothing specific is coming up for me. Yep, but we can continue to monitor that. If you know something more specific about that, please let me know, right? So then I could announce it, right? None of our clients have called in the Sacramento area saying that this morning, so I can't confirm one way or another, okay? All right, Alec B., I see your situation. You say, I've contacted your office about retaining your firm to help me take my mom and dad to America. I would like to sponsor them since I'm a U.S. citizen now. How long does the consular process take? Yeah, awesome, awesome. So Right now, the petition, which is the first step, takes about a year. All right, I expect that to slow down under the Trump administration. I expect processing times across the board to slow down a little bit. So imagine it takes, say, a year and a half to get the petition approved. After the petition is approved, then for the consular phase, as long as your parents don't have unlawful presence, as long as they don't need a waiver, then it'll depend on the processing times at the embassy or the consulate, right? Because we've got to do the packet to the National Visa Center with tax returns, sponsorship documents, the proof of no having any criminal history, right? Criminal history documents. We upload all of that to the National Visa Center, then they coordinate the interview, and it just depends on how many people are in line to get the interview in the consulate, depending on which country you're from, right? And so, so if it's in Mexico, expect it to be about another year after the petition's approved. So in total, you're looking at about 2.5 years approximately. All right, that's the way it is. That's the way that works. And Alec B., thank you for asking that question, and thank you so much for being here, right, and for working with our firm. I appreciate you. So I see one question here. How worried should people with DACA be? I'm very concerned. Yeah, thank you for asking that. I'm also concerned for our DACA clients. And so, how worried should you be? I mean, it's wise, and it has been wise ever since the Fifth Circuit has started making their decisions saying that DACA was unlawful when it was issued. Yeah, it's wise to start looking for a plan B, for an alternative. All right, I've been doing a lot of consults recently with folks that are in that situation. And so, yeah, where possible, start looking for a plan B. I had a client who I consulted with last week who has DACA, but has gotten married to someone with a U visa, right? So through marriage, but it's not marriage to a U.S. citizen. It's marriage to someone with a U visa. And so we're like, okay, can we use the U visa to fix papers for the spouse with DACA? And the answer is yes, you can. All right, it's not straightforward. It's not the normal process, but there are things that can be done, right? And so it's like, let's really do an analysis and get to the bottom of what are the options, right? CE user, how many times can you challenge a Supreme Court decision? You can't. All right, the Supreme Court is the Supreme Court. They're the last stop, right? So the U.S. Supreme Court is but you can clarify it, right? Every case is slightly different. You can't challenge the Supreme Court because they have the final say in applying the laws of the U.S. and interpreting the U.S. Constitution and everything else. They are it, right? But if there's a new case that is slightly different from the case that was last decided in front of the Supreme Court, you can argue that the law should be interpreted different to this case, right? I don't know if that's helpful in your situation, but yeah, bottom line is once the Supreme Court decides something, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. They can decide to change their decision, all right? Like that happens every once in a while. Brown versus Board of Education overturned so where it says separate but equal complied with the Constitution, no more, right? You had to have everybody, black, white, everybody had to be able to go to schools together and stuff like that. That was Brown versus Board of Education civil rights law. But that overturned a previous Supreme Court decision, which was called Plessy versus Ferguson, that said separate but equal was okay, complied with the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. Well, anyway, that got overturned. So it's possible that the U.S. Supreme Court will revise or will change its mind about a legal issue. Same thing with Roe versus Wade, right? The abortion laws, right? And so. So it does happen sometimes that the Supreme Court will agree to overturn itself, but otherwise that's it, right? Otherwise that's it. So anyway, I hope that's useful. And then CE user, did he get his visa through marriage? I'm not sure who you're talking about. Let me know. Oh, you say you open up your immigration status for investigation once you apply for citizenship, so they go back to how you came to the USA. Yeah, that's true. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's true. You know, so you gotta make sure your green card was lawfully issued, I think is the point that you're making. And so that's true. And you want to, if you get your, if you originally got your visa or your green card through marriage, then it's like you want to maximize, you want to show and be able to document and demonstrate that your green card was lawfully gotten, including that it was through a bona fide marriage, right, at the time it was issued. CE user, thank you for making that point. Okay, Uriel Miramontes, I see you here. I'm adjusting status through my wife. Priority date was October of 2024, but I was convicted of a petty theft offense in 2018. Is there any defense regarding the Lake and Riley Act to protect me? Okay, this is a great question. Yeah, thank you for saying this. So here's the thing. If you're eligible for adjustment of status through your wife and you're going through an adjustment process, fantastic. Let's hope you get that green card and everything issued before the Lake and Riley Act really goes into effect. All right? And if it does go into effect and if you get detained because of this petty theft offense, all right, if you got detained and you're in detention, hey, at least you've got good news that you've got a green card and you're eligible for adjustment of status. You could adjust your status even in immigration court, even in detention. And as soon as you won that case, now you can be released. All right? I really hope for your sake and for everybody's sake that it doesn't get to that point. But I'm just saying, right? Worst case scenario, we got to adjust your case in front of an immigration judge in court while you're detained. That's awful. It's a horrible situation to be in, but it's so much better than being detained under the Lake and Riley Act and not having a case or an option, right? So that's the way that works. All right, Diana Balderas. Is a receipt notice of an I-485 acceptance promising nothing on an approval. This was a case for removal. Okay, so a receipt notice of an I-485, I mean, it's better than having nothing, in my opinion, right? It's better than having nothing. And it's like, okay, it shows that you have a application pending for a green card. It shows that you're working on it. It's not a valid approved immigration status, okay? But it's like, okay, it shows that you've got something working on it. So if you were to be sent to immigration court or if you were detained or something of that nature, like you could fight that case in front of a judge if necessary, okay? And you say that there's nothing on an approval yet. This was a case for removal. Well, there it's like, I really hope that you're working with an immigration attorney that has navigated that well. Like the best advice would have been to terminate your removal case, quote unquote, terminate or dismiss your removal case first so that you can adjust in front of USCIS. So hopefully that happened in your situation. And if you're not working with an attorney, I really recommend working with one in your situation. And if my office can help you in any way with that, we'd love to do that. Okay? Good. So Lamara K, if your income is too low to file taxes, but years later, if you still file for past years, even though you weren't required to, is that considered bad moral character? Okay, don't overthink. So the good moral character requirement is that you complied with tax law. All right? So if tax law said that you didn't have to file because your income wasn't high enough, then actually you're complying with tax law. All right, I hope that that's helpful, right? I hope that that's helpful. So actually, there are many people where you didn't have the income threshold. Well, you might need to document that in some way, right, when you're filing for citizenship. Show your W-2s showing that you made a low income, or just explain, you know, that you were retired or you were a student or you were, you know, there's lots of situations where it's common that certain people didn't have to file taxes for that year. And if that's the situation, then just explain that in your case. If you're working with an attorney, the attorney can help explain that too. All right? Bear with me, folks. I need to do a technological issue here. I need to plug in my iPad. Apparently I forgot to charge it last night. Sometimes I just, you know, too much on my mind to remember to recharge the iPad, I guess. So let me get that taken care of. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I do see it's 11:08, so I'm going to need to wrap up in a little bit of time. I'm enjoying this conversation, though. I've got a lot of questions. I'll do my best to kind of rapid fire as many questions that I can here, and I'll just do my best. So the next question I see is from Lucio Mendoza Picasso. You say, "Good afternoon." Excuse me. "Good afternoon. I came in with a visa 26 years ago. My son's an American citizen, but I lost my passport and visa. What can I do? Request your FOIAs, apply for a new passport from your home country so you have a passport. You can do that from your local embassy, but then request FOIAs, Freedom of Information Act request. All right, we call it FOIA or FOIAs, and you can request that to try and get to the bottom of all of the different records to prove your entries, stuff like that. Sometimes, like if you have a copy of your passport or your visa stamp, that can help also. Yeah, work with an attorney, request your FOIAs. Let's see if the records at least show up there. Okay? Parmeet Singh H24, I see you here. What about before getting the green card, any misdemeanor has an effect on citizenship? Okay, so you're saying you're applying for citizenship, but before you got your green card, you had a misdemeanor. The things to look for there is, hey, did you mention and include that misdemeanor when you applied for the green card? I hope so, because that could be a misrepresentation if you didn't, all right? As long as that's there, then we got to look at what the misdemeanor was. Did it cause deportability? Did it not cause deportability? Was the green card issued in error? Was it not? Was it waived? Things of that nature. As long as it was dealt with properly and it doesn't cause deportability and it was waived and dealt with correctly, then it should not affect citizenship. The best advice, though, is run all FOIAs, get all records, review it carefully so that you're making fully informed decisions. All right? Cinnamon O World. All right? I am waiting for removals of conditions. You're married. You applied last March. Okay, so you applied for the I-751 last March to remove the conditions. I'm waiting for the removal of conditions to obtain a 10-year green card. What can I do? All right, so that's good. So that means that your green card was already approved. You're already a conditional permanent resident of the United States, a CPR, all right, which is a conditional permanent resident of the United States. So that's a good sign. That means you are not deportable, right? You've been admitted lawfully. You're not subject to Lake and Riley Act. All of that is good stuff. And you filed the I-751. That's good. Let's just make sure that that I-751 was done well. Let's make sure that it gets approved so that then you get your green card and then you can later apply for citizenship. So the best advice in your situation is obey all laws. You know, don't leave the country for too much time. But you've got your green card. You're in an okay situation. If there's any problem with your I-751, meaning if there's a problem with your marriage, for example, if you're getting a divorce or if you're breaking up or something like that, then that causes an issue and speak with an attorney right away. But otherwise, you're in a pretty good situation, all right? Just make sure that that I-751 gets approved, yeah? All right, Life is Strange. Thank you for your, for being here. You say, sir, my VAWA case is pending for almost 7 months. I have a prima facie letter. I have a removal order from before. Okay, got that. Question is, will ICE cause any problems for me? I don't have a criminal record. First of all, your VAWA case is pending for 7 months. That's good. You have a prima facie letter. That's good too. If you have an old removal order, what you might consider is doing a motion to reopen. All right, a motion to reopen based on the prima facie approval of your VAWA case. And then hopefully you can get that case terminated in court. Okay? And so that's what I would say there. Jay, and Life is Strange, if my office can help you at all with that, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to. Okay? Jay, what should you do if your DACA has been expired for 3 years and they denied renewing it? Yeah, talk to a lawyer, right? You won't be able to do DACA anymore. Find a different solution if there is one. All right? U visas, marriage-based cases, family-based cases, asylum, T visas, VAWA, parole in place, you know, whatever the other options might be, explore them all and if you're eligible, go for it. Okay, and do that with an attorney, right? Diana Balderas, does your firm assist with employment petitions? No, we don't. All right, you've got PERM approved, you've got an I-140 approved, but then the company went out of business. I see that. That's a difficult situation. That is not my area of expertise. All right, my office does not do employment-based immigration. We do family-based immigration and most, deportation defense, right? Asylum, U visas, things of that nature. That's what our clients are able to apply for. All right. CE user. Then why is Trump challenging birthright citizenship? I can't answer that question. I can't answer that question. Really, I asked the same question myself. Right. I think it's ludicrous because it's constitutional. Right. Birthright citizenship was passed in the 14th Amendment when they granted slaves the ability to vote and the ability to become citizens, all right? Because before then, slaves were not citizens, all right? And so that when they emancipated slaves, then it's like all these emancipated slaves became citizens because if they were born in the United States through birthright citizenship. It's a huge deal. It's like in the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, you shouldn't be able to just tweak that or change that or modify that with some executive order that doesn't go through the whole constitutional amendment process, right? All right, so Angel Bermejo, let's see, DACA renewal, minor traffic misdemeanors dismissed from states to not file traffic, file on form. I don't know what you're saying. Form states to not file traffic. File on form, question mark? Yeah. If you have a misdemeanor related to traffic, you should file it on your DACA renewal, definitely. All right? Sinful Studio, tattoo. I'm DACA. Should I apply for advanced parole? Yes. Talk to a lawyer, though. Thank you for asking this question. Thank you for asking this question. DACA-based advanced parole might go away. All right? It might go away. Now, we haven't seen announcements about that, but there was a huge restriction on DACA-based advanced parole under the first Trump administration, and so we're going to see what happens there. I really recommend in your situation, talk it through with an attorney first. All right? Would you advise applying for advanced parole? Yes. Do it with the help of an attorney. They can, be on call while you're out of the country. You don't want to leave for very long with DACA, right? You want to do it well. I've done this for a lot of folks with DACA, all right? And it opens up options for the future. So the benefits are enormous, but just be mindful, all right? Be mindful. If it's an emergency situation, do it as an emergency advanced parole document and get it done as quickly as possible because it might go away, all right? Viridiana, do you think people are going to still be able to adjust their status through marriage? Yes, I do. That's by operation of law. They won't be able to change that absent an act of Congress. So yes, definitely. All right, Stacy Thompson, can I adjust status to get citizenship while my green card renewal is pending? So you don't need to adjust status, quote unquote, but you can apply for naturalization. You can apply on the N-400 for citizenship while your green card renewal is pending. Yes, absolutely. I've done that 100 times. It's definitely, in fact, we had a case that I won even in the Trump administration. The week Trump came into power, I won a very complex citizenship case where we had filed for citizenship even while the green card renewal was still pending, and it was approved. He was sworn in as a citizen just, on the 29th of January? So just last week. All right, yes, you can do that. All right, 2 more questions, and then I'm going to wrap up. Cedric Eric, when USCIS posts the following message on my case status online, fees were waived, decisions in the mail, new cards being produced, does that mean my case was approved? Sounds like it. Sounds like it. It's either that there was a decision on your work permit and they're issuing a new card, or it's that a decision has been issued on your green card and you've won your case. All right? So that's either way, it's good news. but it might not be the final decision yet. It depends on which receipt notice you've put in there. And hopefully the online case status account is correct. I've seen it where they say stuff and they've got the wrong information in the online account. All right. My last question for the day is Dice King 000. All right. If you have adjusted status pending, are you okay to stay? If you have an adjusted status pending, are you okay to stay? Yes, you're okay to stay. Yes, you should stay. And it's possible still that immigration could try to enforce immigration laws against you for some reason, right? If you have a deportation order, if you have some other issue. But you know, when the best advice is if you have an adjustment of status pending, stay in the U.S., right? Because if you leave the U.S., they could call it an abandonment of your adjustment of status unless you leave on advance parole. Okay? All right, anyway, hope that's helpful. Hope that's useful. Thanks, everybody, so much for being here. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. I see other questions coming in. Thank you so much for asking your questions. I wish I had more time. One, my heart goes out. Maria, I see you here. Ramirez, can I marry my partner at an ICE detention center? He was detained for a DUI. Man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're in that situation. Yes, you can marry someone even while they're detained by ICE. It's not easy to do. You got to coordinate it, have a lawyer help you. My heart goes out to you that you're in this situation. All right? All right. Everybody, thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate each of you. My name's Otis Landerholm, Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. If my office can help you in any way, please feel free to give us a call. We are here to help. We would love to help. If this content was useful, please take just a moment and go to our channel in YouTube. All right, YouTube, do a search for Landerholm Immigration, enter, and then hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications bell. That's the best way to follow our content. And as we upload additional videos with additional content, things of that nature, you know, we can do that. Just check us out on YouTube. All right. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate everybody, and thank you for being here with me. My name's Otis Landerholm again, and you're joining me right now, and we'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thanks a lot, everybody. Make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.